Trust Me, I Know by Orphan Account. Read by The Devil's Advocate 18. Summary. Megami is not stupid. He's far from it. He knows what the faraway, soulful look Gojo shoots his way whenever he's with Yuji means. Or Megami's past and present experiences dealing with Gojo and his poor, broken heart. Megami is not stupid. He's far from it. He knows what the faraway, soulful look Gojo shoots his way whenever he's with Yuji means. Despite not being able to see the man's eyes, every thought that runs through his head is written all over him in big, bold letters. He remembers incredibly vividly the day after he met Gojo. After all, it was easier to look at the memories from his childhood at the points when Gojo came in. He'll never be able to admit it to his face, but it was just the idiot's presence in his life was the first ray of sunlight. It gave him hope that maybe not all adults were bad, even if he was incredibly annoying. He remembers the days when Gojo would come over to the small, badly kept apartment. He claimed he was there to help Megami and Tsumuki, but ended up sitting on their torn couch most of the time. On the very rare occasions, Megami would even join him on the couch. This is when he first caught a glimpse of the other boy posing next to Gojo on the home screen of his flip phone. They both wore the same school uniform and looked at the same age. The other boy was weird with black bangs and black hair tied back into a slick bun. Maybe he was a classmate? Then he noticed the way Gojo's eyes would linger on the other boy's face. His eyes were sad and a small frown was plastered onto his face. Probably more than a classmate, then. He found it weird at first. Gojo was never sad, but like he said before, Megami wasn't dumb. The sadness and the welling of tears in Gojo's eyes would be all visible no matter how hard he tried to hide them with his happiness persona or tinted glasses. Gojo would go silent for a while every time he took Megami and Tsumuki out to Shinjuku. That was a place they frequented together a lot. At the time, Megami would just browse the toys or children's books while sipping on a brightly colored drink that bordered on radioactive taste that Gojo had insisted they all get. Meanwhile, Gojo would browse the streets outside with pursed lips and squinting eyes, as if looking for someone. He tried to pay no attention to the strange man, but it was always an effort when either him or Tsumuki had reminded them that he was hungry or wanted something from the store they were in, which always snapped Gojo out of his trance, returning him to his teasy and silly demeanor. Megami knew better than to ask about it, but that never stopped his curiosity from taking over one hot summer's night. Gojo came home a little bit too drunk, and it was a Tuesday. Gojo only came to their apartment during Fridays and weekends. It kind of scared little Megami. It reminded him of his father and how he would come home intoxicated like this. He quickly learned Gojo was a different type of drunk. Instead of screaming, Megami learned the most he would do is wail and complain, which wasn't different from normal Gojo, but this time it felt more serious in a way, despite the intoxication. His cheeks and ears were flushed red, which contrasted greatly from his blue eyes and light hair. He remembers Gojo crying. It was the first and last time he ever saw him cry. His slurred speech and loud wails echoed off every thin wall in the apartment. As he made his way to the couch, all of his complaints were cemented around Suguru. Who's Suguru? Even now, almost an entire year of knowing Gojo, Megami rarely started a conversation with him. Usually, just letting Gojo carry them forward, while Megami, once in a while, contributing a snarky remark. That seemed to be their relationship. but he preferred this 100 times over than the one he barely even had with his father. Him asking such a personal question like that felt wrong, especially due to Gojo's current state. After that question, Gojo shut up. The air around them was tense for a few seconds, and his blue eyes bored holes into Megami's soul. He was about to apologize and run back to Sumiki for comfort when Gojo spoke in a wobbly voice. I don't know anymore. He was my best friend. I just miss him. That was all Megami got. The only hint of who Suguru might be from Gojo himself. But he knew all he probably needed to know. Suguru was someone important to Gojo that chose to go down a different path. Still crying and hiccuping, Megami didn't really know what to do. A part of him wanted to help Gojo, and another part of him wanted to just go back to sleep and forget about everything. He chose the former. He plopped down on the matted couch next to Gojo and hugged him, which further increased his sobs. It didn't feel as bad as he thought it would, to hug Gojo. Maybe because he hugged back. He probably wouldn't have done it if Gojo was sober, though. That would have meant endless teasing. They fell asleep like that. The next morning they didn't talk about what happened during the night prior. Neither did they talk about it the next day, or the next, or the next. Eventually, Megami stopped waiting for Gojo to bring it up, and stopped searching for opportunities to talk to him about it. That event was entirely forgotten, but just treated like it had never happened in the first place. However, one thing that changed after that night was Gojo's home screen, which was now plain black background, no longer a picture of an over-enthusiastic Gojo posing with a wild, smiling Suguru. He got better, slowly, stopped taking them to Shinjuku every chance he got, and never came home drunk. Or maybe he never drank again after that incident. Although it did get briefly bad about a year ago. He didn't know the details with him being preoccupied with Sumiki and all, but he did know that something bad probably happened to Suguru as he noticed Gojo looking through old pictures in his camera roll of him and a very familiar ebony-haired man. But this time, he wasn't frowning. He was smiling softly. When Megami catches Gojo's longing gaze when he's with Yuji, Megami always pauses to give him a brief but warm, sympathetic smile, maybe as a way of telling Gojo not to worry. Yuji is more than capable of taking care of himself. Megami knows that, but after the whole fake dying incident, he would do anything to make sure Yuji is okay at the end of the day. But he'll never admit that either. Maybe Gojo also thought like that. He's sure Gojo noticed this too, and it was probably one of the reasons he acted this strangely around them. But Itadori had the same wide smile that Suguru had. This was Trust Me, I Know, by Orphan Account, read by The Devil's Advocate 18. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.